Our next Reddit post is from Sheet Mask Wine Baking. I'm a part-time home baker. I took it up while I'm studying from home during the pandemic, and it's basically a fundraiser for my charity since I can't do my monthly fundraiser bake sales on campus anymore. I'm also the only person selling baked goods in my entire area, so my items are very popular. Specifically, this one particular type of cake I make that people absolutely love. The other day, a lady called me, and she wanted to place an order for 1 pound of this particular cake. She said that she tried it at a friend's house, and she loved it, and she wanted it for her niece's birthday. I told her that I use metric measurements, so my cakes are actually 500 grams. And to be clear, 1 pound equals about 450 grams, so my cakes are actually bigger than 1 pound. She said that she wanted a 1 pound cake, so I dropped it because it was more or less the same thing. After I took the order and quoted the price to her, she started giving me more instructions. She said the birthday girl is 16 years old, so decorated according to a 16-year-old girl, which is super vague instructions. She also said to add such and such to the cake and write 4 different things on the cake. I explained to her that all these things included were not in the base price, and the things that she wanted would make the cake a lot heavier and pricier. She said, make it a 1 pound cake for the 1 pound cake price. Okay, I get the hint. You want a 1 pound cake with those specific customizations. So I made the cake just that. I removed some of the ganache and made thinner layers so I could incorporate her additions and so keep it at exactly 454 grams. No more, no less. The lady came to pick up the cake, and she went ballistic because I was trying to rob her in the name of charity. And the cake I made was in no way 1 pound because her friend's cake was bigger. I tried explaining to her why her friend's cake might have looked bigger and that this cake was exactly 1 pound like she wanted. She refused to listen and created a huge scene and said that she wanted a refund. So I brought my scale out and weighed the cake in front of her. 454 grams exactly. The lady saw the number and went, aha, I was right. You're trying to cheat me. It's 50 grams less. I said, no, that's exactly 1 pound like you wanted. I opened up Google Converter and showed her that 1 pound is exactly 454 grams, not 500. I opened up our conversation on my phone and showed her the message where I told her that I make 500 gram standard cakes, and she said she doesn't care. She wants 1 pound. She was a bit gobsmacked, and she said that I should have some professional courtesy and make it 500 grams, and that I'm trying to cheat her. I'd had it with her. I told her, ma'am, you said that you wanted exactly a 1 pound cake. You said it to me 4 times. So you can take this exactly 1 pound cake, or you can take your refund and leave. I can find other people who would want to buy this 1 pound cake. She took her 1 pound cake and left, saying that she would never buy anything from me again, and she would make sure to let others know it too. Later, her niece followed my page on Instagram and dropped me a message apologizing for her aunt. She said it was the best cake that she'd ever had, and she was sure to tell everyone about my bakery. I worked at a Subway that didn't have any authority or managers, just a couple of minimum wage base level workers. I don't remember what this particular customer was mad about, but she was arguing with me and didn't like the answer I gave her. She asked to speak to the manager, and there not being a manager, I decided to promote myself on the spot and replied with, "Manager speaking, how can I help you?" This did not make her very happy because she realized she was not going to get a different answer and asked for a phone number to call. The owner has specifically told us never to give his cell number to customers, so I gave her the store number. She gives me a nasty grin, thinking how much trouble she's about to get me in, when the phone behind me starts to ring. I will never forget the face she gave me as I answer the phone, look her in the eyes, and ask her, "How may I help you?" Our next Reddit post is from the Initial God. So here in the UK, a 15 rated film means that you have to be 15 to see the film. No exceptions. Back a few years ago, we had 2 ticket types at my cinema, adult and child. It's since changed to incorporate a teen ticket. Child was under 15 and adult was anything 15 and above. This guy comes in with his mates, back of the queue to get in, but can be heard throughout the foyer being all loud and obnoxious. And the generalization I found in my experience in the cinema is that if they're teens on their own and they're loud and obnoxious in the foyer, there's a high chance they'll be the same during the film and generally be a nightmare in the screen. I start to notice some other people in the queue looking over at him and rolling their eyes. I get the pleasure of serving this guy. Comes up to me, still shouting over at his mates who are getting served by some of my colleagues, and asks for a ticket to see this 15-rated film. Can't remember which. One of those low-budget sucky horrors that have come out in their mini sequels recently. Insidious or Sinister or Annabelle or whatever. He looks about 16 or 17, but since he said a ticket, work script autopilot takes over as I ask how old he is so I can sell him the correct ticket type. Him being the person he is, and probably since he's gotten away with it before to get the cheaper ticket price, said he was 14. The moment he said that, a massive grin washes over my face. Sorry, mate, the film's a 15. Holding back my glee at not having to deal with his BS for the next 2 hours. I can't let you in. No amount of begging and pleading would make me budge. So he asked to speak to the manager. Manager comes down, sides with me, and he's on his way. Day ruined. Our next Reddit post is from Lexus7328. This happened about 18 months ago. I found the paperwork this morning and thought about it. I was going through a nasty divorce, complete with disappearing prenups, and my ex was making threats against my small business. When the deposition came, it requested tons of information about my business, bank transactions, tax returns, etc., and all documentation regarding asset sales or acquisitions. First, I pushed back and said the administrative burden was excessive. They responded with tough cookies. Then I resisted with the argument that I refused to supply information that will harm my business and the other stakeholders. We finally agreed that only the attorneys will have access to the business records. I asked several attorneys what exactly my rules for compliance are. The short version: each numbered request has to be presented separately, so I can't just throw all my responses in a box together. Do I have to send a box? No. Any other organization required? No. I responded with the zeal they didn't expect. I gave them everything that matched their requests. As this was requested from the business, I was justified in using payroll to prepare my responses. So 5 of us went to work. So I've printed off bank statements and bank transaction reports for 7 years for 10 accounts, threw them in a pile, and shuffled the whole lot. 1 question, 1 response. As an inventory-based business, every sales transaction is a change of asset, so I added all my sales records to that request. I printed full-page, bright orange labels clearly identifying the case, the question, and business documents, attorney's eyes only. Then I banded the stacks very tightly together in piles about a foot tall with 500-pound packaging straps. This makes a paperwork bomb that explodes with about 3,000 sheets of paper when you cut the straps. And there's no boxes to put them in after you open them. So on the last day in the afternoon, I delivered a pickup truckload of paperwork calmly to a group of expensive attorneys who were freaking out at the sight of cart after cart worth of paperwork being stacked up in their conference room. I purposefully put all my personal documents and the smaller questions on the bottom. There's not enough money in the city to pay the attorneys to even touch this mess, let alone go through it. We settled soon after, and I sent a few employees to recover my documents unopened. And then OP includes a picture of the documents. And for those of you who are listening and not watching this video, oh my God. Imagine a cardboard box big enough to contain, I'm going to guess, 3 fully grown men. And inside this box, completely disorganized and bursting in the seams, are these massive, I don't know how to describe it, blocks of documents, just mashed together like like concrete blocks. There must be literally millions of documents in this box. And the cherry on top, OP forced the attorneys to agree that only the attorneys could touch it, so they can't hire help to go through it all. Our next Reddit post is from Amaranthine Nightmare. I worked at a pretty popular department store for years, and I have to say that the customers the store breeds are the worst of the worst. This store is probably 90% of the reason that so many customers feel as entitled as they do. The cashier had the hiccups. It was incredibly annoying. Isn't there anything you can do for me? Was an actual honest-to-God complaint one lady had for me when I was a supervisor. So anyway, I was covering a breakup at the registers. I was a supervisor at the time, and I had also already given my 2 weeks notice. I was beyond fed up. It was like spring of my senior year all over again. I had no more F's left. So I'm up at the registers, and this lady who couldn't have been more than 40 comes up with a huge cart full. Anyone who has worked retail, you know this woman. She's got the hair. She's smacking her gum at me while she talks on the phone. The entire transaction is delayed because I need her to pay, and she starts to ignore me because apparently I'm the rude one for interrupting her phone call. She proceeds to tell the person on the other end, "Give me a second," and finally turns to me and says, as if I'm an impatient child testing her last bit of patience, "Yes. Here's your total, ma'am. Do you have any coupons or rewards to use today?" She nodded, and here is when she drops a few clippings on the counter in front of me, ignoring my outstretched hand, and turns her attention back to her phone. As soon as I look at the coupons, I see that none of them are usable. She has one that is $10 off your menswear purchase of $50 or more. She has all women's clothing. The next coupon expired 2 months ago. Another one doesn't start for a week, etc., etc. So I try to get her attention. She's just as lovely and accommodating as the last time. She rolls her eyes, tells the person on the line that she'll have to call them back, and gives me another sharp, "Yes." "Sorry, ma'am, this coupon is expired. This one hasn't started yet, and this one is only for when you purchase $50 worth of menswear. Do you have any other coupons or rewards?" She stares at me like I had just called her mother some unsavory name. Excuse me, what? What could I do but shrug helplessly? You've got to be kidding me. This is the entire reason I came out here today, to use those coupons. I really can't use them. Unbelievable. Some customer service here. All the while, she's packing her useless coupons back into her purse and glaring scorch marks into my soul. Remember I said I was done? My patience before Shopzilla here was already at 0. She tipped the scales. I was officially in the negatives. I had negative flips and negative patience left. So when she said, "You should be ashamed of yourself being so rude to a customer," something in me snapped. I smiled sweetly at her, mustered up a bright and cheery expression that I usually reserve as my waitress face, and said, "I'm so sorry you feel that way, ma'am. But on the bright side, since it's Tuesday, I can still apply your senior's discount. So at least you aren't losing that one, right?" I can't quite describe her expression. I think she was angry, but I think she was more shocked. And in that state of shock, she sputtered out, "I'm not a senior." I mimicked her shock, trying to appear horrified at my accidental faux pas, and then immediately said, "Let me take that off of there for you then," and promptly took the senior discount off, bumping her total up another $20. "I'm so sorry for the misunderstanding, ma'am." Oh boy, she was pissed. But like I said, I think she was more shocked. She seemed a little dumbfounded. She paid, she took her stuff, she left. I will take that petty moment of satisfaction and her horrified expression to my grave. It was even worth the write-up that I did end up getting after she called the store and gave my manager a piece of her mind.